Hi everyone, welcome to my very first video in the UGC NET lecture series. In this series, we'll be solving previous year's question papers starting with the June-July 2018 paper. But before we proceed with the question paper, let me begin with a quick brief about the UGC NET examination. 2018 is a very important year because that's when the UGC shifted from 3 papers to 2 papers pattern. Paper 1 is a general paper on teaching and research aptitude, and paper 2 is subject specific. The question paper consists of 150 questions, 50 from paper 1 and 100 from paper 2. Each question carries 2 marks, making a total of 300 marks. And there is no negative marking. And the exam is conducted in an online computer-based test mode. However, there is no need to worry about the exam setup because at the exam center, you will be provided with a computer system with login credentials along with a paper and pen for rough work. Just make sure that you reach there on time. In my experience, the most effective way to crack the exam is by practicing previous year's question papers, as this will help you understand the exam pattern, identify important topics, and most importantly, it will help you improve your time management skills. Anyway, in this series, we will solve questions along with the required theory as per the syllabus. So, let's get started. Good luck! The first question is, which of the following sets of statements best describes the nature and objectives of teaching? Indicate your answer by selecting from the given codes. There are 6 statements and 4 codes provided. Let's examine the options one by one. Option A. Teaching and learning are integrally related. Yes, that's a true statement. Because teaching and learning are interdependent processes. Teaching has meaning only when it results in learning. Now, if you check the codes, you will notice that codes 1 and 3 include option A. This means we can eliminate the other 2 codes at this stage itself. So now, our answer will be either code 1 or code 3, right? Let's examine the remaining options. Option B. There is no difference between teaching and training. This statement is incorrect. There is a clear difference between teaching and training. Well, teaching is a broader concept that aims at the holistic development of an individual, whereas training is very specific and skill-oriented. Since code 1 includes option B, which is the wrong statement, we can eliminate code 1 here. Therefore, our answer is code 3. This is exactly how you should approach such questions in the exam, by elimination. It will definitely help you reduce time consumption. Anyway, let's go through the remaining options for learning purposes. Option C. The concern of all teaching is to ensure some kind of transformation in students. This statement is true. Definitions describe teaching as a process of transferring knowledge, skills, attitudes, behavior, and values from one person to another through various methods and techniques, resulting in transformation. Option D. All good teaching is formal in nature. This is wrong. Teaching can be formal, such as classroom interactions between teaching and students. However, teaching can also occur outside the classroom, which is known as informal teaching. Option E. A teacher is a senior person. This is also incorrect. Teaching is a role, not something dependent on age or seniority. What is required is a deep understanding of the subject, teaching aptitude, the ability to communicate effectively, and continuous updation of knowledge to make learning relevant and understandable. Now, the last option F. Teaching is a social act, whereas learning is a personal act. This is a very true statement, also a beautiful one, because here we need to discuss some of the associated theories and theorists. First, John Dewey. Dewey explained the social nature of teaching. According to him, teaching happens through interactions, communication, and shared experiences within a social environment like a classroom, an institution, or even a cultural setup. So, teaching is clearly a social act. On the other hand, Jean Piaget, he described learning as a personal cognitive construction process. He emphasized that learning happens internally, where the learner actively constructs knowledge. And this internal process leads to individuals' cognitive and behavioral change. Another theorist, Robert M. Gagne, he defined learning as a change in individual capability and also pointed out that teaching can be observed, but learning cannot be directly seen. It can only be inferred from behavior. Then we have Lev Vygotsky's social constructivism. Vygotsky said that learning begins through social interaction, what he called inter-psychological level. But it is completed through internalization within the individual, the intra-psychological level. So even here, learning ultimately happens inside the learner's mind. So if you notice, Dewey confirms that teaching is a social act, while Piaget, Gagne, and Vygotsky together confirm that learning ultimately a personal act. That is why statement F is correct. So the correct answer to our first question is code 3. Options A, C, and F. A quick exam tip. Statements with absolute words like no difference, all, or always often indicate false options. Now let's move to the theory part of Module 1, since the question mentioned the nature and objectives of teaching. Let's begin with the definitions of teaching. Various scholars have defined teaching differently. However, teaching generally means instructing or imparting knowledge or skills. Teaching is a process that involves the flow of ideas, instructions, and knowledge from a more mature person, the teacher, to less mature persons, the learners, using different tools and techniques. Next, nature of teaching. Teaching is both a science and an art. Teaching is a science because it's a systematic and logically planned activity. It involves scientific strategies, practices, and techniques to enhance learning. Teaching is also an art because its effectiveness depends on the teacher's creativity and ability. What works for one learner may not work for the other. So, teachers must continuously adapt their strategies to suit individuals' needs and levels. Teaching is purposeful and measurable in nature. Teaching is a goal-oriented process. Predefined objectives and goals make it purposeful, while evaluation helps measure outcomes. Teaching is tripolar, which means teaching involves 3 poles: the teacher, the student, and the environment. Teaching is a social act. It means teaching occurs through interaction and communication in a social environment. Teaching is formal as well as informal. As we already discussed, teaching can occur both inside and outside the classroom. Teaching is dynamic, which means teaching is not carried out through fixed routines or rigid rules. It is flexible. It changes according to the situations, experiences, and learners' needs. Teaching is interactive. Well, teaching is a dialogue, a two-way interaction between the learners and teacher. Earlier, teaching practices were more teacher-centric, but modern teaching is learner-centered. Interactions create a conducive learning environment. Teaching is diverse in nature. A teacher works with students of different personalities and learning styles, and this makes teaching a complex and varied activity. Therefore, an effective teaching requires a diverse set of strategies to meet individual needs. Teaching is transformative. Again, as discussed earlier, teaching aims at a holistic transformation, a change in knowledge, skills, attitude, morals, and ethics of learners. Teaching is continuous and progressive. It means teaching is a lifelong process, a journey from cradle to grave. And progressive means it's an ongoing process that develops step by step over time. Learning does not happen in a single class or at one stage. Instead, teaching builds gradually on prior knowledge, adapts to learners' growth, and continuously improves through feedback and evaluation. Teaching is diagnostic, which means continuous evaluation helps identify gaps and suggest remedial measures so that almost every learner can achieve mastery with time and support. Now, let's look at the key requirements of effective teaching. The characteristics of teaching. First, teaching involves three variables: the teacher as the independent variable, learners as dependent variables, and resources and methods as intervening variables. All of these influence teaching effectiveness. Clear objectives and learning goals. They are essential as predefined goals provide a sense of direction, focus, and motivation. Active engagement and participation. Active engagement and participation of both the teacher and students enhance effective teaching by increasing motivation, critical thinking, deeper understanding, and clarity. Overall, interaction makes the teaching learning process meaningful. A progressive and continuous evaluation framework. It refers to an ongoing assessment through feedback, activities, and performance measures. It aims to improve understanding rather than rely only on final examinations, and it must adapt to learner needs, social changes, and technological developments. A positive learning environment. The environment should be supportive and non-judgmental, where learners feel safe, respected, and valued. Such an environment encourages growth, healthy competition, and a sense of belonging. Finally, the objectives of teaching. The fundamental objective of teaching is the holistic development of students and ultimately the prosperity of the nation. This is achieved through a strong theoretical foundation known as Bloom's taxonomy. And this is a very important topic, and it requires a separate dedicated session. So let's wind up here and call it our first session. Thanks for watching. Take care and bye-bye.